Hi everyone, Andy here at Spymaster Gaming. Welcome back to the channel and a very warm welcome if it's your first time joining us. In today's video, I'm going to be continuing the little series I've been working on, which is how to start Warhammer for cheap. I've done part 1, which is building a force using second-hand models. Part 2, playing an older edition of Warhammer 40k rather than the current edition. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what to do if you find out that Warhammer isn't for you. But before I go any further, please consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and dropping a comment down below. Trying to trick the algorithm into thinking I'm more popular than I actually am. So anything you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. So, you may have watched the second part of the series and thought, yeah, I do like Warhammer. If that's the case, I suggest you look at this video that I made a few months ago about the true cost of starting Warhammer 40k 10th edition. So if you want to get regular games in with people who are all playing the latest edition, this will give you an oversight on terms of how much you need to spend in order to get an army up and running. So you can watch that video here. But the main question for this video, what if you didn't enjoy playing it? What if the system didn't speak to you? What if you didn't really fancy continuing with it? And that might be the case. You may have just thought, I don't like the fact that it's a case of I have to move everything, my opponent has to move everything, I don't feel like I'm engaged. I'm going to present to you alternative game systems, and in this video I'm going to be looking at, in particular, OnePageRules. OnePageRules came about a few years ago with a view to simplify Warhammer 40k and Warhammer, and they have created their own systems within a sci-fi and a fantasy setting, which are miniatures agnostic, meaning you can use whatever miniatures you want. You can build lists with them and get them onto the table relatively quickly and get a game in usually under an hour. And the levels that they operate at a mass battle system, so you can use lots of units, or they operate at a skirmish level, so only a handful of models to represent a force. Today's video, we're going to be looking at the skirmish system, Grimdark Future Firefight. You may not have had that much luck in terms of buying lots of models for secondhand, and even if you've only got a handful, you can put them to use in this system. So I'm going to be doing a bit of an oversight of the rules for OnePageRules Grimdark Future Firefight, showing how it plays on the table, and giving you some of my thoughts and about why you should try it. So here we go. So first off, we're going to look at the OnePageRules website, which is onepagerules.com. Very simple website to use. This is where you can go to get your free copy of the rules. It's worth noting that all of their rules for all of their games are completely free. If you do want to get the advanced rules, you can pay a nominal fee on their Patreon or their My Mini Factory page, which the link is on the website for, and you can pay about £5, $5 to get access to the full core rulebooks, and you'll have them forever. The rulebooks don't tend to change. The only things that tend to change and get updated digitally are the points values and the actual army lists. The rulebooks don't tend to change. So looking at this website here, you can see that you've got the rules for their core systems. Grimdark Future, which is an equivalent to Warhammer 40k, mass battles. The Grimdark Future Firefight, which is what we're going to be looking at today, which is a smaller skirmish variant. Age of Fantasy, which is the fantasy version of Grimdark Future, and Age of Fantasy Skirmish, just the fantasy variant of what we're looking at. And you've also got Age of Fantasy Regiments, which is their version of the old Warhammer Fantasy, or I should say the new Warhammer, the Old World, which is coming out in January, I believe, from Games Workshop. And Warfleets, which is a bit of an anomaly because it's just the only one which focuses on smaller scale spaceship combat, much like the old Games Workshop game from the early 2000s, Battlefleet Gothic, if you can remember that. So, all you have to do for any of the systems that you're interested in, Grimdark Future, the one that we're interested in, it tells you how many models you need to actually play a game, the average game time, and then all you have to do is download the rules, which is here, the beginner's guide. So if you download that, and you can easily pick it up, and all of the extra stuff as well, some nice tokens that you can cut out and mission cards, all really beginner friendly. I'm not going to go into too much detail about the rules because it's OnePageRules. The whole concept of it is it's really simple to pick up. So I'm not going to labour the point in terms of going over the top in terms of describing the gameplay, but it's just so you can get a flavour of what it's all about. So this is one element of it. So now you've got the core rules, you need to be able to build an army list. Now, if you've mentioned, or sorry, if you've watched my other video, you'll know that the rulebook of Warhammer 40k 3rd edition had the rules for a number of armies contained within the core rulebook. The army lists for One Page Rules are free, and they have their own dedicated app called the Army Forge. Again, I'll put the link in the description below. Now, the Army Forge, I've jumped the gun a bit there, sorry, I'll just go back. The Army Forge, very similar to the layout what we've just seen on the One Page Rules website. You pick your system, and you can then build an army list from the faction that you want to play as. So we're going to see I've built some lists here in my previous game. So we're going to go on Grimdark Future Firefight, and I'm going to be looking at the Battle Brothers faction. But you can see here, I'll just scroll down, all of those factions are available to you, and it's the same across the other different game systems. And the other nice little thing they've got as well is the community books, where people can create their own army lists using an inbuilt points calculator, and people are free to use these. So there's some which are, say, colonial space military, for example. That's going to be based on Starship Troopers, for example. You can just tell by the name of it. So there's nice little nods to other sci-fi franchises within the community army lists, which is really cool. But with just the official books, we're going to go on Battle Brothers, and we're going to just have a brief look at what it looks like in terms of building a list. So you go here, it will give you an overview of what units are available to you and the points values. This game does have points values, much like Warhammer 40k, and you'll set your points value when you create the list. So it recommends a 300 point list for starting One Page Rules. That's going to allow you to play within the time frame that it recommended of 40 to 60 minutes. So you can name your list, set your points limit, and we'll go create list if it wants to let me. There we are. So you'll get into the app, and you'll get into the list, and you can add units here. So all I'm going to do is show you an example. I'm not going to run the full list up to 300 points, but just a brief anatomy of what the profile looks like so you can get your head around how easy it is to pick up. So we'll go for a Master Brother. I'm just going to give him some random war gear. I'm going to make him a Preacher. I'm going to give him a heavy chainsword, and no, I'm not, because that is quite boring. I'm going to give him a heavy rifle, and I'll give him an energy sword, and I'll make him a veteran. No, I won't, because that tips it over. The one thing that you can see there, which is really good about this app, is it tells you here at the top where it's flagged up with a validation warning. So it will tell you if this list is legal or not. So as long as nothing red appears there, your list is legal. Mine is illegal at the moment, as I have voided that policy there. So I'll take that veteran infantry off, so we're all playing by the rules, and I will just show you what the profile looks like. So from this page here, you can have all your units out, and then you can print them, you can PDF it, just so it's really clear and for everyone to understand. And you can even put it as cards as well. So you can print them out on individual cards. So Master Brother, if you look at the profile for the model, you'll see two statistics at the top: quality and defense. Now, quality relates to the shooting value of the model as well as its melee capabilities, and also what you need to get to pass any morale tests. Defense relates simply to its ability to defend itself. You need to get above that, otherwise it will take a wound. And on the topic of wounds, that's what tough relates to. Most models standard are 1 wound, and this tough equates that it's actually got 3 wounds. So some models, some of the bigger models, will have multiple wounds, up to something like 18, 24 on the really, really big models, but we won't see that in the skirmish level because it's designed for smaller combat squads rather than big, scary monsters. So that's it. So you need to roll a 3 up to try and hit something or attack something in melee, 3+ to save, and then we look at the weapons profiles. So look at the weapons here, everything that it's equipped with. Master Heavy Rifle, it has a range of 24 inches, nice and simple. It has 2 attacks with it, so just roll 2 dice, and its armor piercing is 1. So armor piercing essentially works a bit differently in this system, unlike 40k. So where if I were targeting an opponent that had defense 3, for example, and I had armor piercing 1, it would then need to roll a 4 instead. It would add 1 to its defense. Up to a maximum of 6, but the main rule with one page rules is a 1 is classed as a natural fail on a die, and if you roll a 6, that's an automatic success regardless of the armor piercing, so it can basically modify it up to and including 6. So you've then got some other special rules here, which I'm not going to go into, but all the special rules related to the model will be found here where it says, funnily enough, special rules. Now, some of you may have concerns in terms of, well, they've got different names. How do I know what models represent what in this game? And One Page Rules does a really good job because they aren't stupid. They know that most people do have Warhammer 40k miniatures, and that's what they will be using. So all you have to do is there is a third website to go to, which is the One Page Rules community wiki. Again, the link will be in the description below. You then go onto the miniatures for the relevant game system. Firefight is included in here, and Age of Fantasy Skirmish is included in here as well because it's the same, obviously the same miniatures that they're using. It's outdated rulebook covers, I should add, but it is the same system. So you go on the miniatures, you pick what faction you're playing as, so Battle Brothers, and it tells you the equivalences. So all you have to do is scroll down, say Master Brother there, so I could use any of these from Games Workshop. And all of the units here have an equivalent, which is brilliant. And most of the armies have that. So if you are stuck, you can use this website and it will tell you exactly how to build a list. So using those 3 websites, the rulebook, the Army Forge, and the unit equivalent tables, I assembled a small force, 300 points of Battle Brothers, to take on my friend Ryan's Robot Legions. He's got 300 points of Robot Legions, which are Necrons in 40k, and we made a simple scenario using a small board of 4 foot by 4 foot, and with a central objective. Basically, whoever's closest to that central objective at the end of the 4th turn of the game would win the game. And that's it. So I'm just going to show you a bit of the gameplay now and describe some of the actual gameplay interactions so you can get a feel for how it plays. So my Battle Brothers squad consisted of 4 models, a Prime Brother Master, a normal trooper, one with a plasma gun, and a biker. So 4 models, and that's it for 300 points. And Ryan's list, again, a few more models, but a good variety. You've got 1 big model there with Tough 3, a leader, and a couple of special weapons. With the central objective up for grabs, we start the game in our deployment zones. In One Page Rules, each player takes it in turns to move 1 figure or unit at a time before passing play to their opponent, unlike Warhammer 40k, where you move everything, shoot with everything, and attack with everything, and then pass the play to your opponent. This keeps players engaged at all times and makes it really key that you pay attention to what's going on. As the game goes on, our models take damage. When a model suffers its last wound, it must roll a die. On a 1 to 5, it is stunned. On a 6, it's removed from play. Stunned models can be shot or charged and taken out of action immediately, so you have to be careful you don't overextend, which is part of the tactics of this game. By the 3rd round of the game, my Master Brother has moved up to the center objective, as has Ryan's heavy, but my backline has to be careful as Ryan has ambushed a couple of models behind me, one of his unit's special rules. And by turn 4, Ryan has moved up some support into the center, killed my leader. Another one of my units is stunned there, even though my biker has recovered, meaning that Ryan has taken the game. So there we have it. that was a really quick whistle-stop tour, 4 turns, played in about 35 minutes. Really fast, really fun. So fast, in fact, that we actually had another game afterwards, which I won, but I didn't capture it on film, so you'll have to trust me on that one. But it's not about winning. The thing I like about One Page Rules, Grimdark Future Firefight, and their other systems, it's really quick to learn, it's really easy to get it to the table, and it's such a nice structure to actually build social interactions around. Um, because you're not constantly having to reference the rules. You can have a laugh, you can have a joke, because you can know what the rules are off the top of your head after literally having the army sheet in front of you. You don't really have to think about it, and it's such great fun. Um, I've put the links in the description below, as I mentioned. Have a play around with it. Have a go at building your army lists and see if you can get a game in, and let me know what you think. From what you've seen there, do you think that it's better than Warhammer 40k in terms of how the activations work? Do you like the fact of being able to interrupt your opponent and then being able to interrupt you and not having to wait too long between you having to actually do something? Or do you prefer Warhammer 40k's way of doing things? Let me know below. What do you think? For me, I'm not a massive fan of playing off either or. I think a lot of people tend to fall into, and I've mentioned this when I did a Grimdark Future demo day in the video here, if you want to check that out. I'm not a massive fan of playing systems off against one another. There's room for multiple systems in everyone's head. You don't have to be tied down to one system. I like Warhammer 40k, the older editions. Granted, I still haven't played 10th edition, but you know, there's room for multiple systems, and the more systems you know and can remember, you get to obviously play more people. That's the way that I view it, and it's variety, because you could get bored with the system quite quickly and get disillusioned, and then you have something else to fall back on, which I think is really, really handy. This is free, as I've mentioned. The whole purpose of this video series is starting Warhammer / wargaming, as we've now sort of diverted a bit, for as cheaply as possible. So there's no real reason why you shouldn't try it. If it comes down to personal preference and you try it and you don't like it, then that's understandable. But it's a free game, essentially. Why wouldn't you want to try it? All it requires is a bit of time, half an hour. That's not that much in the grand scheme of things. So let me know how you get on. In the next video of this series, I'm going to be looking at the more painting and modeling side of the hobby, and sort of how to build up a cheap little paint set and go from there, and basically pick simple color schemes for you to practice with your models. Nothing too detailed, as you're just starting out, and not spending a lot of money either, keeping in theme with the rest of the videos. So if you've enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to the channel, write a funny comment in the comment section. Try and make me laugh. I need it at the moment, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks very much. Ta-ta.